Democracy depends on a free press. Please support our independent journalism at democracynow.org/give. Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. Israeli attacks on the Gaza Strip have killed at least 15 people since dawn, part of an intensifying onslaught that displaced 180,000 Palestinians in just 10 days. On Tuesday, 8 people were killed when Israel struck the home of Palestinian journalist Osama al-Arbid in northern Gaza. He survived the strike and was filmed being pulled from the rubble of the house. Israel's continuing attacks came as Gaza's hunger crisis deepened. Hungry families in Gaza City report they're going without meals as they have yet to see any of the trickle of humanitarian aid allowed by Israel to cross into Gaza.
There's no flour and no food to feed the children nor the adults. Everyone is hungry. No one is eating. No one is eating. If you find a kilo of rice today to prepare, you won't find it tomorrow. You would have to divide it over 2 days and feed the children little by little.
On Tuesday, Israeli soldiers opened fire on hungry and exhausted residents of the southern city of Rafah as they rushed to receive packages of food. Palestinian media reports at least 3 people were killed, 46 wounded in the chaos. The gunfire rang out after thousands of Palestinians who'd spent hours crowded into fence cages in the hot sun surged toward a distribution point set up by the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, a controversial aid group backed by Israel with the support of U.S. private military contractors. It was the group's first day of operations. A United Nations spokesperson on Tuesday called the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation a distraction from what's needed to prevent a humanitarian catastrophe. This is Juliet Touma of the UN Agency for Palestine Refugees.
The needs are 500 to 600 trucks at a minimum that should go into Gaza loaded with supplies, not only food, but also medicine, medical supplies, vaccines for children, fuel, water, and other basics for people's survival. And we're very, very, very far from reaching that target.
In Massachusetts, protesters holding a 24-hour vigil for Gaza in Harvard Square, reading the names of Palestinians killed in Israel's assault on the Strip.
Rasha Muhammad Rafit Al-Hamidi, Bashra Ramza Imad Al-Shaid, Dana Atam Yusuf Dolal, Ghada Iyad Subhiyeh Al-Jihal Salam.
Protesters held banners that said they all have names. Officials in Gaza say Israel's assault and starvation campaign has killed more than 61,700 Palestinians. In Indianapolis, protesters gathered at the Indy 500 parade Saturday, demanding the U.S. pressure Israel to stop starving Gaza. Malka Bird is with Jewish Voice for Peace, which helped organize the demonstration.
We need to break this siege. We need food, medicine, and clean water going into Gaza immediately. So anything you can do, any people you have, any congregation, any collection of people that you have who can be moved into action, we are obligated to move them into action.
Humanitarian groups warn Sudan is on the brink of a public health catastrophe, as Sudanese officials have reported at least 2,700 cholera infections and 172 deaths in the past week alone. Most of the cases are in the state of Khartoum, where access to clean water and electricity has been severely disrupted due to drone strikes blamed on rapid support forces and intensifying fighting with the Sudanese army. The region's water treatment stations are out of service as the strikes have caused electricity outages, forcing local residents to turn to unsafe water sources. Cholera is caused by ingesting contaminated water or food and can kill a person within hours if left untreated. More than 2 years of war has pushed Sudan's healthcare system to the breaking point, leading to what international groups describe as the world's largest displacement and hunger crisis. The Trump administration's halted the processing of visas for international students as it prepares to require additional social media vetting for every applicant. A cable issued by Secretary of State Marco Rubio Tuesday orders U.S. embassies and consulates to halt interviews with prospective students until further notice. This comes after the Trump administration revoked the visas of international students who've spoken out in favor of Palestinian rights. Maryland Democratic Congressmember Glenn Ivey said Tuesday he was denied access to meet with Kilmar Abrego Garcia during a recent visit to El Salvador. Abrego Garcia was wrongfully sent to the maximum security mega prison in El Salvador, SECAT, in March. The Maryland father has since been transferred to a different prison. Ivey's attempted visit came as pressure continues to mount for Abrego Garcia's release and return to the United States to reunite with his family. Ivey shared this message on social media.
We came here to visit him today, and now they're telling us we got to go all the way back to El Salvador, to San Salvador to get a permit. That's ridiculous. We ought to have a chance to come in and visit. They knew we were coming. They knew why we were coming, and they know we have the right to do this. So they need to just cut the crap, let us get in there and have a chance to see him and talk with him. We got his lawyer here. We got somebody from the unions here to talk with him. Let us in. Stop playing games. Let us have a chance to talk with him.
The Supreme Court in April ruled the Trump administration was obligated to facilitate Abrego Garcia's return to the United States. In more immigration news, the Trump administration's ordered the removal of a 4-year-old girl from Mexico, despite the child's immediate risk of death if she loses the medical treatment she's been receiving in the United States. The girl came to the U.S. with her parents, who also face expulsion, and were granted permission to live in the country under humanitarian grounds in 2023. The little girl, identified only by her initials, SGV, has been receiving care for her short bowel syndrome at Children's Hospital Los Angeles. One of the girl's physicians said if her treatment is interrupted, she could die in a matter of days. Here in New York, immigration advocates are demanding the release of a 20-year-old Venezuelan asylum seeker who was arrested by ICE agents as he left his immigration hearing last week. The asylum seeker has only been identified by his first name, Dylan, as his mother fears further retaliation from ICE. On the day of his arrest, she said agents ambushed Dylan in the courthouse lobby after he left his hearing. In the following days, Dylan was transferred to multiple immigration jails across 4 states, making it difficult for his lawyers to contact him. Dylan was attending high school in the Bronx, where he lived with his mom and his 2 younger siblings and worked as a part-time delivery driver. President Trump has pardoned Scott Jenkins, a former Virginia sheriff convicted on corruption charges, after undercover video showed he accepted over $75,000 in bribes. Jenkins is a longtime Trump supporter. On social media, Trump said Jenkins was the victim of an overzealous Biden Department of Justice, unquote. Meanwhile, Trump has fully pardoned the former reality show couple Todd and Julie Chrisley after they were sentenced to long prison terms for evading taxes and defrauding banks of more than $30 million. This comes as Trump loyalist Ed Martin has taken on a new role as the Justice Department's pardon attorney after failing to win Senate approval to become the District of Columbia's top prosecutor. Politico reports Martin spent his first week on the job reviewing pardon applications of January 6th insurrectionists, including Oath Keepers founder Stewart Rhodes, seeking to have President Trump convert their commuted sentences into full pardons. Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. announced Tuesday he's ended government guidance recommending healthy children and pregnant people receive COVID-19 vaccinations. Kennedy made the announcement in a video posted on X.
I couldn't be more pleased to announce that as of today, the COVID vaccine for healthy children and healthy pregnant women has been removed from the CDC recommended immunization schedule. We're now one step closer to realizing President Trump's promise to make America healthy again.
Despite Kennedy's announcement, the CDC did not publish any information about changes to its vaccine schedule, which recommends COVID shots for infants of 6 months or older. Kennedy appears to have entirely sidestepped the Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices, the CDC panel that normally handles such recommendations. The CDC is currently operating without an executive director. Kennedy's announcement is likely to put COVID vaccines out of the reach of millions of people because insurance companies will likely no longer pay for them. The American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists condemned the rollback of vaccine access, writing, quote, "The science has not changed. It's very clear that COVID infection during pregnancy can be catastrophic and lead to major disability," they wrote. 3 Colorado public radio stations have joined National Public Radio in a lawsuit challenging President Trump's executive order seeking to bar public broadcasters from receiving congressionally appropriated funds. In a joint statement accompanying the lawsuit, the broadcasters write, quote, "This is not about politics, it's about principle. When the government tries to limit press freedom or control the flow of information, we have not only the right but the obligation to speak out and defend our rights that make independent journalism possible," unquote. This comes after the New York Times reported the lead producer of the documentary series American Masters insisted on removing a scene critical of President Trump from a documentary about the comic artist Art Spiegelman 2 weeks before it was set to air nationwide on public television stations. The series is produced by the WNET group of New York City public TV stations. In a statement, Art Spiegelman wrote, quote, "It's tragic and appalling that PBS and WNET are willing to become collaborators with the sinister forces trying to muzzle free speech," he said. The U.S. Supreme Court has declined to take up an appeal by Indigenous advocates who are fighting to block the transfer of Oak Flat to Resolution Copper, which wants to turn the site in eastern Arizona, sacred to the San Carlos Apache Nation, into a massive copper mine. The justices left in place a lower court's decision that will allow the Trump administration to take the land and transfer it to Resolution Copper. Justice Neil Gorsuch wrote in a dissent that it was a, quote, "grievous mistake" not to take up the appeal. He wrote, quote, "Recognizing Oak Flat's significance, the government has long protected both the land and the Apaches' access to it. No more. Now the government and a mining conglomerate want to turn Oak Flat into a massive hole in the ground," Justice Gorsuch wrote. And former New York Democratic Congressmember Charles Wrangle died Monday. He was 94 years old. Wrangle was a founding member of the Congressional Black Caucus, known as the Lion of Lenox Avenue by his Harlem District constituents. He served in the House for over 4 decades. Wrangle became the first Black chair of the Ways and Means Committee in 2017, before stepping down from the position amidst an ethics scandal for violating House rules. Wrangle was born in Harlem in 1930. And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. Democracy Now! Is funded by viewers like you. Please give today at democracynow.org/give.